Thank you. It's a pity for this hard cut now in the pure harmonies, isn't it? But let's
Yeah,
talk a bit. Would be nice. Cool, nice. Also,
thanks.
it's nice to see that you have on a technical level, you have the capacity, you have everything what this piece needs. You have to have speed, you have to have the quality to hit the right notes, and
Yeah.
a musical understanding of the piece. And it's nice, especially how you phrase the beginning, for example, of having this dark sound, this dark beginning in the low register of the instrument, and on the contrary, later this like birds talking in the high register when it gets fast. And this is exactly how to read scores. And if you know a little bit of Kekabe's background, I mean, I don't, not the biggest historian on that topic, but there is always a background in her pieces, which is nice, I think, to know when you perform it. Uh,
Yeah.
it might give you, this is why I say it, it might give you ideas how to yeah, form a dramaturgy or how to find the reason why she used this beautiful original theme, right? And altered it in so much disharmonical, like strong harmonies, dissonant. Like you see that life is not just or has not been just beautiful, but
Mhm.
raw, right? And
Yeah.
knowing these kind of things, especially from composers still alive, is great because you have easier possibilities to research, right?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, if you see the scores, and this is why I say it, if you saw the scores and you found the translation, you found especially uh, a way which I also absolutely would agree. This is why it's very nice. And on top of that, you're fast, you're on technical, on a high level. This is good.
Thanks.
Um, Continue following the harmonies in the end is the biggest advice I want to give you because if we have all these strong harmonies in the beginning, which you solved, I think, perfectly, when you get into the middle part, I think it's horizontal chords roll, where we get finally into the major harmonies, where we get it opens up, right? It goes again down into this harmonic, but when you get into the in a more pure color. I think you have to still find the 100 translation, how to solve it on a technical level in a
Mm.
role. Um, for example, what to do is this, let's start for example like this, what to do, how to create tension and like intensity in roles and chords is pressure, fast amplitude, fast speed in the roll, right? That we get this, this tunnel. So if we know this to create tension, you also know what you can do to create lightness, the light colors in music. And this is, I think, what you could research more on. Have a open touch, open, not pressure, but open touch to the sound where it resonates a bit more and where you have a frequency which is slower,
Mm.
right? But the
Yep.
slower frequency just works if the single touch on the instrument is light. Same on timpani. It's the absolute same game, what to do. And this is a fantastic bridge between the instruments as well. Here is especially how to get more into a pure, into a light, a bright character, light color, if we speak about colors. This is slower in roll, not talking about the tempo of the measures, but the roll frequency being a bit slower and lighter. So move a bit more
Mm.
open. And you will see that the instrument response, it gives you more resonance, and therefore you can start surfing on beautiful harmonies rather than pressing them and creating tension, right? And I
Yep.
think, especially in that small moments, it would be very precious if you really get this to the fullest out, because then she breaks it apart. You get again into dramatic elements of music, right? But it's a game. And sometimes it happens. She's solving it differently. She comes back, and this would be great, especially. Um, the voice is also a topic because there is not much to do, right? I think it's 5 or 6 entrances, including the end, which we didn't see, where the voice is applied. And it's always the question why, then the question how, right? It's always just two.
Mhm.
Uh, why in the musical context it is inside? Probably because of a dramatical element, I would say. If you follow the harmonies and it gets more about the rhythmical, let's go into the instrument, and then you get the first scream. So literally, this is maybe a situation you might also know from your practice. If at some point it doesn't get better, you're like, ah, fuck it, and then you scream, right? So it's a very intense. And I think this would be the intensity of why to implement the voice in this piece. So for me, it was too passive how you scream or how you applied the voice. You don't need to necessarily scream, but you need to exhale, right? You need to make yourself verbally known. This is the moments of
Mhm.
the voice in this piece. Um, and I think as the instrument, how you play it is very strong, very loud. You have to connect with the voice to it, right? We are not singers. We are not trained. I mean, I'm not. Maybe you are. Are you? Okay.
Just for fun.
Good. But this is nice. And here is the thing. If you see it as a support of drama, right, then really get dramatic. And it's not that you need to be a lyrical opera singer. You can apply tips from singers, absolutely. Using the diaphragma is a fantastic hint. But I also have to tell you, I am with my wife being a singer and giving me tips, I still don't apply them. So you have to see where it makes sense for yourself. But also there, if this is a topic and you're as a hobby are very interested in singing, use your things, your hobbies, and implement them back into your artistry, even if it's just for one single action in your piece,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Wait.
there's for example, this is why I say there is nothing better than having a mindset of knowing I know everything about singing. I know exactly what to do, even if it's just for the single action in a percussion piece. And this is giving you the confidence because you think you know everything. This is giving you the confidence to go full power because you're completely in charge of what's happening on stage. And I think if you reach this point, then you are the master of your single small universe, which is happening with you alone with your instrument on stage. This is precious, right? And of course, it turned out a little bit poetic talk, but long story short, if you manage to just use the voice as an active plus why this is now happening, this would be fantastic, right? And then you can battle the voice with the percussion. And then, this everything gets high level. Then
Mhm.
it's nice. Yeah. And doesn't matter if you scream from the throat, you can consider going in a high pitch or in a low pitch. Personally, I would suggest you for this passage very belly sound, not like a high pitch, but that. But you need to have volume for that, and you need to be very fast exhaling in that sense, right? That you get it out. And this would be great, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, Other than that, fantastic. If you have the beginning when you have the fast elements, the last thing to tell you. The last
Mhm.
thing here for the fast element, follow the, because it's always the question with her pieces, what to do with all these patterns. Try to manage that we get one picture, not repetitive notes, right? I know it's written, this is what she wrote. She wrote repetitive elements, but the direction is giving, and the direction is your
Mhm.
guideline. So is going to one ground together. rather than dee-do, 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 dee. This is always singing in the air alone, and this is not interesting. The direction is the most interesting and the guideline, in effect. So sometimes here it's also the thing of maybe having a bit more relaxed wrists, that we're not too much
Mhm.
pressuring the bar, therefore being more in a direction of staccato, if you want to translate it in articulation. So if you allow them to resonate a bit more open, then wow, 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 we get more this circle closing with the left hand, right hand rhythms together. And that's it. Very nice. I was very happy seeing it. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. It's an honor to be in a lesson with you.
Yes, likewise.
Do you have any questions, Cristobal? We've got a couple of minutes if you've got some questions.
Yeah, it's a question about your if you have a routine or warm up to share with us, would be great.
The warm-up I have is especially as percussion is very physical, right? So we have to move, we have to move, we have to be active, and it's a warm-up is for me at this point always about the physical aspect. I always listen to how I
Mhm.
produce, so I control myself because the sound is the ultimate goal, obviously. But for me, it's important if we have the wrist has to be flexible, right? In the end, you cannot implement enough wrist. This is a fantastic topic to talk about because the wrist, even if you use the arm, it has to go through the wrist, right? If it's straight, it's always bah, strong intent, not so much of a musical connection about this at this point. So we have to be flexible. So what I do, in fact, is I play a lot practice pad. I practice a lot about just using wrist stroke, fingers closed, just to get this in 90 degrees here, 90 degrees
Mhm.
there. You get those ones very fit, very warmed and ready because we need them on the keyboard, we need them on timpani, we need them on snare drum, right? Um, and I figured this for me personally a fantastic warm-up because it helps me on all the instruments. And I don't need to necessarily warm up on the marimba single and then snare drum single, right? This is my all around work what I do. However, on the marimba, of course, if I have time, and most of the time I absolutely warm up just for keyboards. It's the same here. I use outside, inside games just to
Mhm.
have this amplitude, that amplitude. So you see, it's in the end also the same reason, just with two mallets in one hand instead of one. And in the end, the older we get, the more dense we get as well, right? So you see colleagues which are practicing a lot, they have at some point this position. Here as well, I'm
Mhm.
falling inward because my arms are free, but I also work against it. I also can lift myself again up and, use muscles, not just in one direction, but in fact also in the other one to just have, you know, all around a composure which is healthy. Because at some point you get maybe talc into the shoulder, right? Or the cartilage is getting less. So luckily, I think both you and me, I hope, are at least in an age where this is not a topic, but it might be when we are getting older. And the more we are aware of that we are not always fresh and healthy, the earlier we're working again about we had, for example, 2 weeks ago Tai Chi in our own academy
Mhm.
with Jörg Hilse, is the timpanist in Berlin, which grew very fond and is instructor, in fact, of Tai Chi, and is all about opening the joints and making, twisting the
Mhm.
arm this one in that way, that one in that way. You like a towel, twisting your upper body. It's a fantastic feeling, which I also trained in at this point. So
Nice.
find trigger points which you can implement from the real life into the artistry and back. Because if you practice your 6 to 12 hours every day, it's on a physical level not healthy, right? So you have to think in the big picture. And then technically, of course, this is the small picture. And This is why never enough wrists is the biggest tip I can share.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Great job. I love that.
Okay.
I was just
Thanks.
enjoying watching it. I'm sorry I had to cut it early.
Yeah. I wanted to talk. I'm also sorry.
We need to talk. Nice. All right. Nice one, Cristobal. Very good.
Well
Thanks.
done. It's
So
good.
we're gonna try go back to Lewis now. I'm gonna try this video again and just see if that's all
I
right.
also downloaded it in the meantime, so I have it now on the
Why don't
computer.
you watch the video then, and your video, and I'll just play this, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you're all right. So that's cool. All right, here we go then. So I'll just play. Lewis, can you tell me if this video stops again, please? Just in the chat.
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you. All right.
Good, thank you. I listened to the download, so I have it. I think you're still muted, just that you know. I will try to speak. Ah, okay, I hear you. I will try to speak short sentences, so I leave you time to translate, right?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, good. All right. So in general, the piece is, of course, in its intention, it has to be very extreme to work. Yeah, because the material at some point is staying the same. Sometimes there's notes added, but in general, the harmonies are always the same, right?
Pero en general es el mismo material.
So what you should exaggerate at this point is making the repetition when you get to the bass, and then the middle passage rum, bum, 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 has to be more dramatic, more extreme.
Okay.
And in comparison, also how you did it, the beginning where you play it alone, you can have more time. You in fact uh, present or play the piece, the theme the first time, right? So more dolce.
Tiene como más virtud en eso.
That said, on a technical level now speaking, it's nice to see you use your wrist, you're fast in your roll. Yeah. But I think sometimes in some passages in this piece, you should roll faster because it gives more intensity.
Okay.
And therefore, creating more thrust, more intensity would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah. With the general approach of this piece, it's comparatively free. So don't play too straight, stable, metrical. Move more. This would be beautiful.
Okay.
Meaning, especially when you're alone, when you breathe. Da, da, dee, da, da, wa, da, be, da. Right, so make it very horizontal.
Right.
Yeah, and especially why I say it's like in this passage, you're alone, right? You're the solist. You have all the freedom.
Fine.
And it gets tricky, and you actually managed well, but it gets tricky if you get more free together with the orchestra or with the piano.
Pero lo manejas bien. Pero es difícil. Okay. Yes.
Meaning is what is it? Third page. Ba-dee-da, ba, ya. Then the piano enters, right?
Yes.
And I think if you manage to play faster, would be great. Dun, 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 dee, ra, ba, ba, dee, rum, bum, 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 bee, because you don't need to play metrical in that sense. It's not Xenakis as we had it before.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have more bum, 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 ba, you get direction, and this is what we need.
Okay.
Yeah. On a technical topic, still speaking about the piece, I had a funny thought because I was thinking about, for sure, already quite some trees had to be cut because of the Genèse piece, because it's always easy to break bars in the low register with this piece. So we have to be careful. Because of course you're solist, you have later to play in the high register, so you need sometimes hard material, but you have to play good in the bass with volume, with character, right?
Okay.
And what to do with it, for example, is it starts already knowing the positions to play on the bar where we don't break the wood, even if we have harsh material. And it is not in the middle, not in the center, but a little bit already away. The material is already thicker.
En la caja de la baqueta para que no se oiga la altura de la tecla, como que estudiar un poquito dónde puedes ir en términos de la tecla para que no suene tanto, un poquito más al borde de repente, para evitar ese sonido. Ok.
Yeah.
Ok, ahí el único problema que teníamos era que el do y el fa tenían un roto en toda la tecla prácticamente, más de la mitad de la tecla. Y por más de que intenté, bueno, eso fue lo que traté de hacer.
Yeah. Well, he tried to do that. It was a big problem because the C and the F on the low register, both of them they were broken. So he tried to do that to find the right place and like a little bit to the border, so the crack isn't as noisy as possible.
Yeah, and this is the thing. If it's already cracked, then anyway it's cracked. Then we hear it either way, right? So this is why. Sorry, please translate. If you have it already broken, then it's already over. But if you have a good set which is not broken but correct, right? Find the sweet spots of the bar where you can play with confidence and not all the time being hesitant that you might destroy something.
Okay.
Playing chamber musical is of course a different topic rather than playing alone, right? So for example, if you have the first cadence, what you did well was you invited the colleague to enter on the piano.
Okay.
And if, for example, now as I have seen it, it was comparatively a very clear information. It was like, okay, now it's the time to re-enter. If you have this music, however, which is very full of air, you know, and very horizontal in its line, you can take a long note, a long connecting point. Suits the character more.
Okay.
In fact, personally speaking now, there is nothing greater than working with time in percussion because we're always used to always be so short and so fast and everything is compressed.
Okay.
And what is natural for woodwinds, brass, is to inhale and then exhale, produce the note, which is in fact musical, right? Because of that is for us sometimes we have to feel it more because our motorics are always up and down, and this is not breathing and then playing. So try to be a bit more soft in it and a bit more like a woodwind player.
Okay.
And this is especially the fantastic moment when you play chamber musical, because then you have to react with other instrumentalists, not with percussionists in that case, but with a pianist, strings. So they breathe. And this is great for you, especially, I think, to just continue playing chamber musical because you're fast, you have the wrists, you can play, and if you then get the breathing from other instrumentalists, new ideas, is very helpful.
Okay.
Other than that, nice to see you playing playing the piece. Thank you.
All right, well done, Lewis. One thing you might want to explore, if the bar is that cracked, which obviously it's really cracked, you could go for the thickest part of the bar, like right, like near the player.
On the edge, yes.
It's not the best sound, but you will get limited crack sound, and you can smack it as hard as you want because it won't crack. It's like that thick.
Yeah, true, absolutely.
So you could try that. Great, nice job.
Thank you.
All right, and this is a first for WPG. The next artist is right next to Lewis, so change seat. Nice.
Hello.
This is Jesus. Hola.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, do you want to say a bit about yourself and what you're going to present, and I'll cue the video up.
Sí, bueno, mi nombre es Jesús Guillén. Pertenezco, igual que Luis, a la Orquesta Sinfónica Juan José Landaeta. También formé parte de la Orquesta Nacional Infantil de Venezuela, dirigida por el maestro Gustavo Dudamel. Y actualmente también formo parte de la Orquesta Sinfónica Juvenil Nacional de Venezuela.
So hi, he's Jesus Guillen. He currently plays as a percussionist in the same orchestra as Luis, the Juan José Landaeta Symphony Orchestra of Venezuela. He also played in the Children's National Orchestra of Venezuela with Gustavo Dudamel as conductor, and now he has to the Teenagers National Orchestra of Venezuela as well.
Motion.
He's gonna play Motion.
Great, let's get into it. Great. You make my job easy or very hard. Works both ways. No, great, great. I have basically a lot of positive things just to say because it's very nice. You play very, very secure. It's very nice to see because you're swift, you are precise. The grooves, everything worked. So everything was like on the trail. You're always. It's fantastic. And on top of that, you followed the phrases and you played the game of being in motion and finding your way through the patterns. Because in such pieces, it's easy to just follow the pattern and forget the phrase. And this is exactly what you did right. You followed the direction and you just used the pattern to create lifts, waves forward and went backwards. And you always stayed in the rhythms. Fantastic.
Okay.
The nice thing also to see is on a technical level, still speaking, is the end, for example, where you have the doubles with the crescendo, and you manage to play the doubles in the same tempo while increasing the amplitude. And in fact, this is why I have to say it because it's difficult. If it's just happening once, first of all, is one thing, but also to have a very fast tempo and increase the amplitudes needs control, right? Either just the wrist or the wrist together with the fingers. And either way, how you solved it, it worked brilliantly because it created this direction, right? And you did it all right. You did it all right. Um, the only thing I basically can tell you about this is when you have the rim knocks on the drums, right? It's a question why they are written. So for sure the sound has to change, right? And if you play on the rim, on the hook, of course it gets more this tiny sound. And you get even more this articulated sound if you go really more to the tip of the sticks. Yeah. Because the more you go inside, the more volume you have, the more volume you create. The pitch is also going down, in fact. Yeah. And in the end, that's just it's not a rule, obviously, but it's worth going to your personal 100%. That's my choice situation. So if you, for example, have it more in the center, it's gong, 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 you go more to the edge, dee, 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 dee. And this is in the end, this would be for me the sweet spot. Digi, dugu, digi, dugu, dee, dee, dee. Really on the tip in that case. It's worth researching. Worth researching. Again, it's not a must do, right? But it's always the question, what we want to see from the outset is your person, your personal idea on stage, right? Your interpretation. And if you say, for example, you just got taken into the orchestra from Simon Bolivar into the second stage, and you want to maybe go into the last one, and you have to make the audition, right? So you have to compete with your colleagues, and then the jury will hear the same piece from maybe 20, 30 people. Yeah. And the more individual then you are, the more interesting you are, and that you are stable as a on a technical level, absolutely right. But this is the last sparkle which stays with a, for example, public or a jury which is seeing the piece 20 times in a row, right? And then the jury will always know, for example, this was Luis. He was so diverse. He was so full and so tiny and so extreme, and going with the sound textures. Sorry, not Luis. Your friend from before. So this is why be more extreme in that sense, and work the system. If we have skin sounds, search for the skin sounds. If you go to the rim, to the outside of the drum, go really aware what is your playing position, what is the sound you create, in fact. And coming to that topic, for example, with this topic, you entered contemporary music, especially experimental contemporary music, because it's all about sounds, textures, the altering of sounds. You have one medium, how much to get out of it, right? And then you have to change your material and all these things. They continue. They're happening in orchestral percussion, but they especially are very important when you get into the contemporary music, new music, current music, right? And it's in the end a following topic. So for marimba, it's the same. You have to find the good sounding spots of the instrument, not always just the edge of the bar just because it's comfortable to play. We all have been there, right? Sometimes it's worth to go to the center as well. Yeah. And in the end, that's it. What I can tell you, based on what I saw from you on drums, is fantastic. I guess and I hope that you have the same qualities in the orchestra, and that you just continue playing and practicing. It's fantastic.
Do you have any questions, Jesus?
¿Desde qué punto de vista abordas tú la multipercusión?
From what point of view do you approach multi percussion?
From what kind of point I approach percussion?
Yeah, like sets, multi percussion sets, and all these pieces.
You have to always see what the composition is, what is meant to be. Is the indication bass drum, 3 toms, right? Then you know the instruments. So this is a rule to follow from the composer. But it's your freedom to decide what sound you want to present yourself. And we talked about this before already. This is this absolute individual fantastic position we are in percussion, because you decide your tonality, you decide your sound. A marimba in C minor is still a marimba played in C minor scale, right? This is always the same. But percussion, multi-percussion, drums especially, they give you the freedom. You choose. You have the guidelines, bass drum, 3 toms, bongo, whatever. But how you tune them and what tonality, if even the tonality you want, that's absolutely up to you. And this is the fantastic individual position we are in. So continue researching there.
Anything else?
Sorry, in the background, the waiter is shaking now the milkshakes already.
Que si quieres.
Cocktails.
No.
Cocktails.
Yeah, exactly.
You got James Bond in there somewhere.
Not yet, no.
All right. Users, any more questions? 'Cause Pauline is not. We're a bit ahead of schedule, so Pauline is not quite here yet. So if you have any more questions, or if Lewis is still there, is he gone?
Luis, que si tienes preguntas de algo.
No?
No. No.
That's okay as well. I can also otherwise share knowledge of myself in general.
Just do it.
Because, for example, with the academy, which we had 2 weeks ago, it was always interesting if we meet people from Latin America, people from the USA, people from Europe, from China, we had from Taiwan. So it was a very diverse field what we had. And it's always interesting that what I always can tell basically to everybody is be confident. Whatever you know what to do in a different surrounding, and if, for example, okay, you have a different style of playing than what the public might expect in this new surrounding, it's absolutely nonsense. It's always the most important to be happy with yourself, very grounded, and it doesn't matter if I have different material and I have now an audition in the USA, or or I have my material and I apply for a position in Austria. It's all about being yourself, literally. Because in the end, the musical parameters are always the same. There might be different stylistics, how to phrase and how to make music. But in general, what to do with it? We are getting motivated here. Sorry, guys, it's getting late. But in the end, this is the thing. You have to be just work your system. You have to find your own style of how to compose your instruments together, how you want to present yourself. And this was especially for me nice to see, because it's always great to have so many people from so many different backgrounds meeting in one place, then in fact. And it's the same here in the academy online, in fact, because everybody, even there, we see it very strong in the videos, have different backgrounds and different strong points. And here, especially, people present themselves with strong points, which is also nice to see. And I can always encourage, just not enough. It is absolutely important and so positive to see people just developing on their own, preferences and just being confident in them. And doesn't matter if you play for some important people or not important people. What both want to see is fun on stage. This is, for me personally, the most important, because we can always judge technical, we can judge artistic, but why do we need to judge it all, right? It's in the end, it is so great to see, for example, coming back to your video, to see a system established, artists performing an established system, having a plan, having a guideline. I like it because I see somebody really worked for it. And therefore, there's a huge valid reason why this is then happening on stage. And this is all we want. It's the same in the auditions. It's the same in the concert format. It's the same if you apply for job positions in the open field. Because there it's a question like, okay, you hit one wrong note in Porgy and Bess, but you have such a nice character So what is more important, the right notes to work for 30 years as a colleague, or having a nice character for 30 years as a colleague? You know, then it's clear. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Jesus, I've got to tell you that I've had so many students play that piece, and so many students underestimate that piece as well. And that's one of the most musically, technically assured performances of that piece I've ever seen. So well done. That's not easy to control the speed, the velocity of the strokes. You got a lot of different like natural articulations of voicings of instruments like bongos, toms, they all kick out at different volumes to like mix those and balance at speed and then put doubles in. And then as Kai said, like get direction and fluidity through that. That's impressive.
What was also actually nice, I forgot to tell you, is you tuned the bongo very high. It's just great because it speaks, of course, very sharp, very light, right?
Yeah.
And we
And
hear it
daughter
far
as well.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
just because we hear it far too often that the bongos are untuned or then they're too low. And the problem is if they're tuned too low, the tension is flat, and then the skin doesn't respond.
Yeah.
So here in the best example, you tune them sharp, and then you get the brilliancy. And it's a high pitch. So this is what you want. For a high pitch, you want brilliancy. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I think it helped as well that you've got some amazing microphones.
Ah, bueno, también los micrófonos que te ayudan bastante.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
I
No,
want
Chris,
those microphones. What are they?
No.
So I think they were Shure SM57s. There were two
Write this down.
in a stereo configuration.
Okay. Cool. Great. Okay, well, we'll let you go, but well done. That was great.
Thank you.
So yeah, whilst we're waiting for Paulina, Kai, tell us a little bit about like when you get back from China, what's on the cards? Vacation.
it would be fantastic if I would manage vacations, but we're busy right now with house projects. So I'm supervising that most of the time now. But I'm going back to China after that. I cannot spoil yet exactly, but so it's busy, and our semester starts again in September. So if I have time for anything, it would be freedom just in August.
Yeah. And are you still going to Manchester a lot, or?
Yeah, I mean, a lot relatively, right? So I'm the
Yeah.
international visiting professor. So I'm there twice per year, once per semester. We manage now, for example, put me in the function of curating and active performing it. So what we do now is that we meet in Manchester, for example, in December, and then end of January, beginning of February again, to practice and then to perform together. Because I think it's very important to play together with the students instead of always just talking, and then you have the chance at some point also to really play together, chamber musically, to really breathe together is very, very beautiful, very valid. And we did it last February as well. It was a great project. I also had a lot of fun, and we will continue doing it in February next year.
That's the best time to do it for many reasons is when you're studying, because once you leave, unless you've already formulated a group, it's quite hard to get musicians together unless you're actively like in an orchestra or something. So
in fact, this is what people sometimes forget, that the university, the college is a huge resource. It's just everything is available just next door.
yeah.
And when you're out, then you realize, oh, wow, now I need to actively contact people and ask and where to practice. And all the logistics come in as a topic as well.
Yeah.
University is fantastic. Everything is possible.
All right, we should move on. Hello, Paulina. We're going to Germany now.
Hi guys. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No, that's okay. We're
No
a little
worries.
ahead of schedule. So You know the drill by now, Paulina. So
Yep.
to you.
Okay.
So
Hi.
let's jump into it.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what Tim is going to play.
Okay.
I've got what you sent me, so
Great. Okay. Cool. So
I must
what
warn you though, I've not trialed it like I didn't trial Lewis's, and that went wrong. So we will see.
okay.
Look,
Okay.
I think the quality in the video you sent was fine. It's the Globo car, right? And Xenakis.
Yes. 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 Exactly.
All right, here we go.
Mi. B. Chat. Votre. Grand. Ton. M. P. Xco. Vous. Z. Fait. L'un. Sacre. Il n'y aurait donc aucune différence entre la Lune et la Terre. Galilée. Il semble que non. Sacre. Il n'y a pas 10 ans qu'un homme nommé Giordano Bruno a été brûlé à Rome pour avoir soutenu la même idée. Galilée. Il n'y a pas de doute, mais tes yeux au tube, c'est que tu vois prouve qu'il n'y a pas de différence entre le ciel et la terre. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes le 10 janvier 1610. L'humanité inscrit dans son journal ciel supprimé. Sacre. Mais c'est affreux, Galilée. J'ai aussi découvert quelques entresorties. Le curatère. Galilée. Je voulais transmettre mes réflexions sur les deux grands systèmes cosmiques à votre Cosmo. Comment vont vos yeux, Galilée? Pas très bien, votre Excellence. Si vous permettez, j'ai ici le livre traitant Cosmo. L'état de vos yeux me préoccupe. Vraiment, il me préoccupe. Cela prouve que vous employez peut-être avec un peu trop de zèle votre tube renommé. Il sort sans prendre le livre. Galilée. Comment il n'a même pas pris le livre?
Okay. Tim, maybe we should stop before going on.
Yes. Yes. Good. Nice. Nice to work on Globo car.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
like just as you can see, it was just a quick recording during a practice session. It's still very fresh, a few memory slips, so it's still a work in progress. But I was very curious to see what would your take on this be.
My take on that is especially you have to work scenic, right? In this piece. This is the guideline from Globocar himself. And what you have to do is, I think, exaggerate the scenes. That this is clearly one is the narrator guideline,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to have the character.
Right.
I think this is about what to do with the voice very important, that you have the chance to really work with characters. In fact, this is the artistic joy, right? Rather than repeating the sounds and adding a voice to it, you if you manage to create a story which we not even necessarily need to understand verbally, because either we don't hear it or we don't understand French, right? But if we see from the outside you blooming in your scene, you talk something, but it might be completely Dadaistic, or it might be a language we don't know, but we still understand, wow, there's something explained. If you create this impression, or if you create a dialogue, which we also don't understand, but you clearly see two characters talking, this is
Right.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, of course, you have to be the narrator. You have to converse. Okay, now it's Galileo. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
Cosmo. So you have to establish this narrator voice, then your scene dialogue. So this is just about what to do with the voice, right?
Right.
Concerning the play, the sounds I think are very good. They
Mm-hmm.
work because it's nice to have drums, it's nice to have metal, it's nice to have random objects from the kitchen or whatever.
Yeah.
It gives a certain free spirit idea, which I think is very important, rather to be too conservative when everything has to be real skin instruments, right? The more you stretch it and the more
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not random how you put them together. So don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
But as extreme the direction from or the purpose of these single instruments are, and you put them together, the better it is, I think,
Right.
right? On a performative level speaking, to get it is, if you see, for example, the beginning, letter A is meaning unsteady, right? So here is, I think it's less about a what it means, for example, what the terms you speak is. I have no idea if they mean if this is a word from um, from Far East or whatever, or if it's Dadaistic, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
What matters, in fact, is what you create. What is the, on an artistic level speaking now, if it's a f or if it's a b,
Right.
it creates tension or it creates settlement. And this is the same. We don't need to understand the word by its meaning, but we can understand the word by what it creates hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is fantastic. And Globocar, in fact, if you approach him from that side, is very interesting because you open the wall to the public. Because again, there's gonna be people which have no idea what you're speaking about,
Yeah. True.
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter, because if we see you blooming in your scene, it's all we need. And if
Mm-hmm.
you give meaning to the syllables and the consonants, and you give them a meaning of, intent of being stressed or being settled or being agitated or aggressive even, this
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. It's fantastic.
This is the thing that I've actually started working on this week as well. I just didn't have the time to record a new video. That's why this is the one I use. But I have just sat down and written all the characters that I feel, like all the emotions that are also expressed through the dialogues and the conversations.
Yeah.
The different relationships between characters and what the scene actually means. So
Good,
yeah,
perfect. So just
it's in
continue
progress.
researching,
Mhm.
and again, here it's such an individual piece, right? And what we want is your personal story to it.
Mhm.
And the more you find your own storyline, your own storytelling, the more joyful it will be. First of all, for you,
Yeah.
because you are totally creating your own world here. And then even again, we don't understand anything, but we understand, wow, it's like watching a movie in a language you have no idea.
Yeah,
We can
right.
still follow, and uh, this is this is artistry in its core. It is transcends, it's understood not just by understanding the word, but the meaning, literally.
Yeah. So
So
the
just
idea behind it.
your personal interpretation, This is also talking about cultures, for example. It's like in some cultures, some words have a very strong meaning or a very offensive meaning. It's the same with how many fingers and how with hand do we greet. It's we're used to what we know here. In other countries, we don't shake the hand, but we just bow, right? And it might be not positive to touch on the first moment we meet somebody random at this point, right? So, it's just about where we come from, what cultural background there is, and just the connotation an action or a meaning has. So
Yeah.
it gets at this point very deep, and even philosophical, which is very interesting. And the Global Car moves in this area. It allows it at least to move, and again, it allows you to have a lot of freedom. The guidelines are written down,
Yeah.
right? So especially if it has to be unsteady, right? Be surprised, be slow, surprise again. All the extremes. And this is artistic measures in this case, artistic ideas which you have to implement. So if you would just be completely free, blooming in theatrics, would be maybe very nice. But as you're still a musician, we want, of course, the musical component as well, right? So there you have to just follow the scores, follow
Yeah.
the script in that sense, yes. But a part of that, be free like a bird, please.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Good. Maybe let's proceed with the next
Yeah.
piece,
So
fragment.
Rabon is also just 3 minutes and just a slight practice video thing. Also very fresh.
All right. Good, until page 3.
Yeah.
Good. So with the Rebond B, we have, of course, the two patterns, right? We have one ostinato, which is the higher register, the most highest, and we have the melody, literally, this is the theme, in the low register. It's worth stretching it, like putting it separated. You have various options what to do there. Putting the highest voice higher to separate it. Oh yeah, thumbs up, yes. Now it works. So this is the first thing. Stretching the voices, putting them apart. It's the one
So
way what to do.
you mean to increase the
You have to tune the high. I mean,
pitch, the
you
difference in
can
pitch, you mean?
tune, for example, the bongo one higher.
Yeah.
The rest more low. That is clear two voices, right?
Okay,
This
right.
is one way what to do. What also is a good idea is acoustically, of course, being very secure in which voice, in fact, is more important, right? And I also perceived your ostinato too loud. The high bongo is too present, ba, 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 ba.
Okay.
And it's the least interesting, right? Because there's nothing happening. It's accompanying.
Yeah.
The motive and the shift is the reason why it's interesting is because it shifts together, and then we get these strange connections, and then it separates again with the theme. So this is the interesting function of it. But the theme is the bass section, right? So this could have a bit more character, more weight, more sound, more volume, in fact. And the ostinato less, right? So already looking at amplitudes, I saw the right hand comparatively high. It would already help just to control the position and the amplitudes, and you see, okay, now you level this a bit lower, you increase this, you see what happens from that point.
Okay.
Yeah. And other than that, stable, yes. Double accent, single accent. Play by the rules of the piece. This is, I think, very important. Wood blocks, exactly. Swift, no time to wait. Just as you finished as well, then straight to it and back to the bongo. Also here, quickly talking about the bongo. When you get outside of the section, for example, find your own translation, please, right? So we all know this piece, we all know all the single stroke and double and press and paradiddle and all these other things. Please find your own version where you feel safe, where you're secure, where you enjoy playing this piece. I think this is the most important.
Okay.
Because it's similar to what we had in the beginning of the live feed when we had also Xenakis. There is no rule in that sense in Xenakis compositions. It's supposed to be metric, supposed to be metrical. There's a strong musical architecture established, what I like calling it. And this is the playbook, this is the rules which we have to follow. But the meaning or your technical translation, how to get there, that's absolutely free. And in fact, this is the freedom which we tend to forget sometimes because we watch too much our colleagues. Yeah, and I mean, I was in that situation as well myself. And if we know pieces before we play them, it's very difficult to find something yourself. This is why I say.
That's very true.
And this is why I want to encourage you, find your own translation, please, of the scores and find your own technical solutions for these passages. Of course, there is some techniques which are established, which is worth investing. But don't just stop there. Invest further qualities into maybe more difficult technical approaches. And if you manage it, fantastic. Then this is your interpretation rather than following guidelines of your colleagues, your teacher, whoever, right? Because in the end, we want to have your performance on stage, not just the next person playing the same pieces over and over again,
Right.
right? So it takes a lot of time, especially if we know already all these common practices, but it's worth practicing them because they're established. And then it's even more important to continue researching. This is why these pieces are difficult, because getting to that level is already difficult, but then getting to the more personal approach is even more difficult and the most important, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
So continue on your way. You're exactly having the right mindset, I think, and you also know where you are right now in the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like one of the things where it's good to also be just limited in the practice room. Right. Normally, I always preach the opposite. I'm always like, no, go outside, watch concerts, open the horizon yourself. I think in that situation in particular, it's good to be really self-sufficient and really research for yourself. Listen to yourself, what you like, what you know, what you can on technical level, expand your reach, and then go outside again and see what your colleagues are doing and other artists.
Right. Okay, that's a good motivational talk for Xenakis.
Yes, isn't it?
Cool.
Good.
Okay.
Nice. So let's see where Tim is.
Right. Have you got any quick questions, or we do have to move on in a minute, but if you have any.
Okay, I'll ask you one question about one moment in the piece where I am kind of convinced there's a Druckfehler, but there's like very much a lot of discussion on this. So on the last page, when the last run begins, it starts with the tumba in the left hand, and then you have to repeat the bass drum twice to get the patterns aligned again. You know what I'm talking about? So do you
Second
think?
last line.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that was a printing mistake to have the same note repeated twice in the left hand, or not?
The last line.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
like the end when it gets extreme to
Yes.
the extremes. Honestly, I never thought about it. I think I played it also different than it's written because I altered right hand, left hand rather than playing. Maybe I did. I don't know anymore, honestly, I have to say. But that's the thing. It gets so fast and it gets so crazy. You have to just see, is it worth playing single strokes in 320 beats per minute for 2 notes? Or you just play alternate in 120, it's fast enough, right? So sometimes think practical. I don't know at this point. It would be worth researching.
Right.
If there is mistakes printed from Salber edit, or if everything is really meant as it's written. I know the double accent, what is it, page 4, or the triple forte in the high bongo after the woodblocks supposed to proceed. This is common knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not just the 3 times written, it is for the full chorus supposed to happen.
Okay.
It's
That's
the
good to
moment
know.
where
I didn't know that.
Okay, so maybe just dig into the biographies, and the research is actually on Rebond exists. Quite some PhDs are also made on it.
Yeah.
Already, and it's you can just find it on Google, literally.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Paulina. Nice one.
Okay.
Very good.
Bye.
We're going to go to Colombia now. David.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Fine. Thank you. Hi, Kai. Nice to meet you.
Have you got somewhere quieter?
Yeah.
Great.
He's like in the bar like me.
It's some
Yeah, so I am in Germany actually with a music and dance folk festival. So I'm here with the whole group. Sorry for that for this class, but I'm trying to
Oh,
do
great.
my best.
no worries. No worries.
So yeah, I'm going to play a timpani piece. Its name is Alcobaza Suite. There's three movements. I'm going to play the third one, the last one. It's Don Pedro's Revenge. I'm preparing this piece for my recital. I'm finishing my career. I'm studying in Universidad del Valle, and this is for my recital. So
All right.
yeah, that's all. Let's
Good.
see that.
Let's head into it.
Yeah.
Cool, nice.
Thank you.
Are you
Thanks so much.
playing right now in the orchestra as well, timpani?
No orchestra, band, symphonic band. We have a symphonic band in our university.
Okay, are you also playing timpani there then? How is it for you?
Yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
nice. Um, so some general things and some artistic things as well. Uh, you have to listen to the response of the instrument, right? So sometimes when you have a closed wrist, and especially on the small timpanis, thumbs up again. If you have a closed wrist, um, you're dampening the resonance, right? So what is a common practice is to have a free fingers that the stick can respond again high. So if you have the medium, that the mallet can move freely. It's a common practice in timpani playing because this allows you to proceed further into the instrument. And what I saw right now, also on the right side, it sounded comparatively sharp. It gets this metallic sound on the timpani. In the moment where you're having the fingers closed and the mallet is straight on the skin and there is no response possible, right? Then it sounds hard. It gets more staccato. It gets more very strong on the first impact. And in fact, what we want in timpani most of the time is the opposite. We want sound, right? We have this big belly instrument, so we want to precede the sound. And I
Okay.
think this is nice researching for you, that you really find the timpani sound, right? In the orchestra, it's also the function of you have to be a fundament, you have to be a guideline, right? You have to lead with one impact. You have to be articulated, sharp, and also very broad. So you have to have all the variety in your repertoire, in your physical repertoire, speaking now. And this
Okay,
is
got it.
why such pieces is actually a good challenge because you have to be articulated. It's very swift. You're also very precise, rhythmically speaking. This is good. Um, and then, however, if you open the phrase, if you crescendo and the last note, for example, get broad rather than closed and sharp, open the sound. And this means having open fingers that the melody can respond freely. This would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Um, concerning the tuning, speaking, find the moments where to tune. So it's not a good idea to tune while the resonance is still happening on the timpani because we hear the gliss. It happened once or twice in the piece. Either you dampen and then you can tune, or you wait until the resonance is faded away that we don't hear it anymore, right? This is first option. The second option is you tune while you play. So if you have one timpani and you have one rhythm to play on one timpani and the sounds are the tuning changes, then you need to pedalize when you play or just a little bit before. Right? Not yeah. So this is a technical, a motorical component worth working on. Because what we want is we have to hear the music, right? And not the translation. So it's always how you create the musical component. Ah yeah, 2 beers. No, yes.
Sorry,
So no, no,
sorry
all
about
right.
that.
So be sharp with the use of the how to change the tuning on the timpanis. Always when you stay on the timpani, always when you do it, right at the time, not in between when you don't play. Then you always have always the gliss. Yeah, try to evade it. Um, in between, for example, if you have a fermata or even if a movement is finished, find the right moment to really say, okay, this movement or this phrase is finished. And then it finishes. Then after waiting and enjoying the resonance which you just created, you have to listen to that. Then it's the time to say, okay, now it's the second movement or the second phrase. I need to readjust.
Yeah.
And then it's also a clear picture of knowing, okay, this is finished. Now it's readjusting. Then it's continuing. Okay. And I
Yeah.
think this would be is in fact very important. I mean, timpani playing alone is always artificial because it doesn't exist. It is not functional, right? It's always serving the purpose of playing then in a formation, right?
Yeah.
It always serves, especially timpani in that sense, a strong soul purpose. We know the solo pieces. We know also that we have concerti for timpani. Maybe I haven't watched the right one yet, but all I know are not functional for the timpani, or hardly, because it gets very fast so virtuose. And the function of the timpani is not about playing fast and loud and extreme in ranges. It's a fundamental instrument, right? Doesn't mean that we cannot do it, but sometimes it then gets so dense and then so extreme that we forget where the timpani actually needs to be in the orchestra, right? It's a strong fundamental function that one note can mean the world to the phrase, or you prepare the peak to the lightning in the Mahler symphony, right? This is timpani. This is the magic of timpani, and the technical translation to get there is, of course, difficult. A very strong roll, open roll without pressure. So this is a technical component. So listen, it starts from the ear. You have to listen to the timpani and you have to find a nice translation on a technical level how to get there. From single strokes, stick control is fantastic, also in timpani, to the changes, to create rolls from the timpanis, and then implement it again into your etudes. And if you have the capacity, the chance to play then even in the orchestra, fantastic. Then you have all three components together. You have the reason, this is the third one, then you have your own practice in etudes, and you have your technical practice, which you have alone. This is all three components.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
And in the end, that's all what I can tell you based on what I see. Enjoy the breaks when you have time in between the movements or the sections. This is very important.
Yeah. I think I
Sometimes,
was like
yeah,
playing the next and the next and the next. No,
exactly.
enjoying the breath.
Yeah, I said it before already that I like the time, taking time very much because I like taking time. It is also from the outside so important, right? To have a full picture of this is action, this is release, rather than always being like one picture, straight, 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 finished. And then it's like, okay, what just happened? Sometimes we don't comprehend from the outside what we actually have seen, witnessed, heard. And if we exhale, if we take time and we inhale and then we play, this is the musical context, how we're used in the orchestra as well. We breathe with the wind instruments. Yeah. So this is also something implementing also in your etudes. You're alone, but breathe. Okay.
Okay. That's helped me a lot because I have no actually work in my own sound by holding the mallets in the right way. I was just playing like I need to hold for that don't get free, and that the resonance in the mallet is also, as you say, is really really important.
Yeah, it's in the end the most important, in fact. So this is why try to work different technical solutions. And it is worth having somebody from colleagues or teachers, which worked these kind of things already out. And if you have all these, then you know what you can take yourself. And then you get
Okay,
self-sufficient at this point, right? But you should research on that. It's important.
got it. Got it.
All right, David, if you've got any last questions, you're welcome to ask some.
And in the middle of this piece, there is a section is molto rubato. So I mean I don't know how exactly to do that section to not sound like dum 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 dum. So I would like to know like how you think that section maybe or how you yeah.
Basically, this is exactly the topic of the breathing, right? And if you have sections which are molto rubato, it is the first step. What to do is you have to know what the phrase is, right? With the timpani, we have a strong harmonical or even melodical understanding, right? So you can follow. It's also worth sometimes just to follow the music on the keyboard, on the piano, just to hear what's supposed to happen. And then you know, okay, this is the melody, and then you phrase more free, not metrical, not rhythmically timed, but with the roll horizontal, because what we want to create is a horizontal phrase, right? And it's coming again down to the technical idea. If you're having, of course, fingers closed on timpani, it can just get percussive and straight staccato. But in lyrical passages, we want exactly the opposite, right? Long horizontal phrases. So more response of the timpani, and then you can shape it.
Okay. Yeah.
And sometimes what also helps is sing. As artificial it sounds, it's the most natural musical translation for us human beings, because it's just our voice. We talk with the voice, we sing with the voice. And if we have the melody in our head, then we can just sing it, and you can give intensity. And if you lean forward, you increase intensity, singing and talking. You can do exactly the same on timpani then later as well. And this is how you approach lyrical passages or more free passages, because they're free. You're supposed to do something, right? You have to supposed to play more free than a strict frame, which we most of the time in percussion, in fact, have to play. This is the moments where we have to break out. So the more, again, here the same, the more you explore, the better it is. Cannot be free enough. At some point, you will realize, okay, now the phrase doesn't work anymore because it's just too deliberate. Then you can go one step back. But it is difficult to really get there and really make musical, intelligent content at this point. But this is good to go to this topic.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Good.
All right.
Yeah, Tim, it's getting crowded here.
Yeah, the party's started.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think Kai, you've earned a well-earned beer. So
Yeah, I will do that. In fact, absolutely, read my mind.
So, on behalf of WPG, thank you once again for being here tonight. It's been
Yes, it's a pleasure. It was very nice. Very nice niveau of contributions of artists. Good.
Thank you very much, and safe travels to China. I hope everything goes well. Good luck with that.
Yes.
And
What?
I'm sure
Yes.
we'll see you. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. I'm just gonna, if you just stick with me for a second, I'm gonna end the stream. Tomorrow we've got Ksenia Komljanovic tomorrow, so we'll see you there.